The lion heart of love is a promise that is being given to each of us. Even if you're in a relationship, that relationship will open to the love, the courage to love deeply and truly, to love fearlessly, to love like a lion. And so if you are in a relationship, you'll see some growth in that relationship. If you are not in a relationship, you will meet somebody that opens your heart. And so this is the promise, not just of good news Saturday the 15th or whatever. It's good news for the next 12 months. And I'm going to take you through that story. Astrology. Today, we're talking about what I'm going to call the good news transit of 2026, where Jupiter and Mercury become merged into one being. And this energy is the mailman, the postal service, delivering good news. Jupiter is goodness, but it's more than just a day in the life of each of us. It is more than one intersection in time. And the reason is simple. Well, they are merging on Saturday, August the 15th in my time zone. This is also a story that takes place over a whole year until August of 2027. And it's going to happen in 4 parts that I'm about to break down for you. But one of the most beautiful bits of this story, as the mailman Mercury forges a union with Lord Jupiter in the sign of Leo, is one, its rarity. We last saw this in 1896 in the sense of Jupiter and Mercury and South Node all being in the sign of the Lion. Second of all, it's also that Mercury was just having a beautiful conversation with Venus in her home kingdom of Libra, the sign of balance, harmony, peace, and one-on-one love. And because Mercury was having this consorting with the goddess of all of those good things before he merged with Jupiter, I want you to think about the postal guy, or I want you to think about the town gossip. Someone goes along and talks to Venus about love and peace and beauty and friendship and harmony and one-on-one love. And then he goes to talk to Jupiter, the big boss, and says, I got a story for you. Will you bring it to pass? Seek and ye shall find is a really good energy for this, because Mercury is literally getting the information that you need to create something lovely and beautiful in your lives through Lord Jupiter. Jupiter takes up, fairy godfather, he takes up to a year with Mercury's support to deliver the whole package. But I would say that probably on August the 15th, a lot of us will put that day on our calendar, a day before, a day after, and say, oh, some good news happened. Something positive developed. Wow, that was positive. It's just the beginning. It's the seed of something that will fulfill by August of 2027. This is where Mercury is misunderstood by most of you. Mercury is between the Earth and the Sun, as is Venus. Both of these are personal planets. I want you to think of whereas the planets on the other side of the Sun, Mars and Saturn and Jupiter, these are not so personal. They're about the world events. They're about the larger spectrum of what's happening. If you want to think of the old soap operas, it really makes me think, when I think of Venus and Mercury that are, between Earth and Sun, it really makes, because we're the third rock from the sun, it really makes me think of Days of Our Lives, the soap operas, Young and Restless, take your pick, General Hospital, but more like Days of Our Lives. The days of our lives are run on the fuel of the inner planets that impact us most personally in the realm of our everyday reality. So don't think, oh, just another Mercury video, because you guys do that a lot. I get a lot of like, it's a Mercury thing. No, yay, it's a Mercury thing. Yay, your life story in the days of your lives are showing up with Mercury and Venus and Jupiter in one of the most benevolent, blessed, and positive Mercury-Jupiter conjunctions I've seen in years. So welcome to my channel. I am Lori Lothian. I am using Western Tropical Zodiac Astrology, not sidereal. This is whole sign house system astrology. Please look in your description box below and learn how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, not Placidus. I get tired of explaining why. Come to study with me in Sky Reader this fall. Information about the course at the end of the video. This is my 7th season teaching. Information below the video about the website, lorilothian.com, Sky Reader. Check it out. I am maybe teaching for my last year. It's how to read a map of your sky, how to time your best life, how to be your own astrologer in that 7-week boot camp. And it is for the newbies to astrology. So if you're at all interested, and maybe my last year teaching, I don't kid you not, 7-year itch, right? Just check it out below, information in the description box, or go check without, at the end of this video, me taking you through the website and talking more deeply about the program. Live classes with me, Q&As, all the deal. All right, guys. So back to everybody dismissing Mercury, which is one of my pet peeves. You know, I put all my energy into Mercury videos because they're the most useful for your own life in the mortal realm of your everyday world, right? You're not a political leader. You're not a country leader. We're not economic powerhouses that are defining reality. We are individuals living our daily life in the days of our lives. And Mercury is a big player in that narrative. And so Mercury, when he meets with Jupiter, usually means something like positive news or good ideas or information that has a growth edge or lucky break energy, good fortune, lucky break. But, you know, I'm going to show you the sky, but I want you to understand what I'm about to show you. Mercury is moving in such a condition that as he's entered into the sign of Leo, which would have been on the 13th of the month, I believe the 13th of the month, no, the 9th of the month, I think, of August, as he moved into Leo. He ended up, as he transitioned into Leo, looking over at Venus, who as of August 6th had entered into Libra, her home kingdom, where she's extremely powerful. And as he was moving towards Jupiter, where he will meet Jupiter, by the way, on the 15th at 15 degrees, I think. Oh, memory serves me. At 10 degrees of Leo, as he was moving through the sign of Leo and aiming to deadhead into a merger with Jupiter, he first had a conversation with Venus. And so don't forget, think of mailman or town gossip or somebody delivering information. Mercury's job is to relay information. He's a messenger of the gods. He comes to us in our dreams. He provides synchronicities, omens, and clues about life. He is that guy. And Mercury had a lovely little powwow with Venus called a sextile, which brings ease, grace, flow, and luck. He had that conversation with her on Thursday, August the 13th. And then on the 15th, the next major aspect he makes is his merger with Jupiter. So he's taking or translating this information from Venus in Libra into Jupiter, into the heart of Jupiter's wisdom, knowledge, truth, goodness, dispeller of darkness, guru, luck. And so there's that. Now, the other thing I'm going to show you are the asteroids and talk about what they mean before we do your sign. There are some really cool asteroids involved in the narrative that Jupiter is hooked up with, as well as Mercury. So one thing I want to say is a lot of us might be feeling that this is about wanting to leave a legacy and using our divine creative powers in service of something greater, because Mercury will be, as he goes into his conjunction to Jupiter at 10 degrees of Leo, he will next move forward and hit the asteroid Varuna. Varuna will be happening at 11 degrees of Leo. This is a Hindu god of creation. I think it's a god of the seas. We'll be talking more about it. And I feel like that, you know, Varuna, Hindu god of the oceans, it's a reverence for a higher power. It's what wants to be remembered in your life, what you want to leave behind when you're no longer here, your legacy. And it can give us an urge for a kind of knowing that there's a cosmic justice, a cosmic law and order. You know, is there not some expression about, you know, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Yeah, like the higher powers of karma, the laws of karma will execute vengeance or retribution or justice. We don't need to execute it from our mortal sphere. And therefore, this higher justice than humanity's justice is activated. Now, remember, Venus is in Libra, the sign of justice. So we're going to see some really positive justice served in the world coming through, not just the Jupiter moment of the 15th of August, but likely as a story that unfolds over 12 months. So where you think justice has been missing in the world, where you've seen like war criminals getting away with it, we may see a turning point story here. Now, second of all, after Mercury connects with Varuna, he connects instantly with Aphrodite. Aphrodite is a goddess of love. It's Venus. It's where we have desires that are true. It's where life force energy courses through us, and it's where we wish to be united in a love story. Well, of all things to say, it is Venus that he had a consort with, and then Jupiter, and then Aphrodite. This is going to bring a new love story, or a powerful love story, a redemptive love story, a true love story, a fated and destined love story, South Node Leo Jupiter, into each of our lives. It opens the core of our bodies, the heart. That is the lion heart of love. The lion heart of love is a promise that is being given to each of us. Even if you're in a relationship, that relationship will open to the love, the courage to love deeply and truly, to love fearlessly, to love like a lion. And so if you are in a relationship, you'll see some growth in that relationship. If you are not in a relationship, you will meet somebody that opens your heart. And so this is the promise, not just of good news Saturday, the 15th or whatever. It's good news for the next 12 months. And I'm going to take you through that story. Please trust me, not everything happens on a day. I want you to think you plant a seed in the ground, and it's a Jupiter-Mercury seed with an infusion of Venusian goodness, Aphrodite, higher powers, Varuna. You put it in the ground and you go, okay, damn it, nothing happened. I planted that damn seed and it's not even worth it. So what are you going to do? Trash the whole soil and throw it away? Of course not. Why in astrology do we not understand that? Because people aren't teaching you, like I do, about synodic cycles. Well, you may have a flirt of good news on the day of the conjunction, and it's quite possible that will happen. The larger story is a 12-month story, a larger story that you must listen for the throb, the chapter turnings, the pivot points of this tale. So if you have a pen or a paper, I'm going to give you the turning points. I want you to write it down, take notes, put it on your iDevice, however you record or save information. I feel that this is my mission, is to get people to understand the synodic cycles of astrology and why when something doesn't happen on one day, it's because it's not a one-day story. So here are your turning points to pay attention to. You're going to look, of course, at the conjunction at 10 degrees of Leo on August the 15th. That's the day before and after. You might have some good news, time zone dependent. It's on my time zone. It's going to be on a Saturday. Australia, it'll be on a Sunday. Then you're going to also now take a note, take a pen, take a paper, write it down, please. You're going to take a look at the next pivot point, and that's going to happen on December the 4th. This year, 2026, December the 4th, Mercury will be in Scorpio, and he will square Jupiter. That's like act one in a 3-act play. Whatever this goodness, this love, this legacy, this creative higher power, this justice beyond your own world, you could be embroiled in a lawsuit. This is a year to win. So I'm trying to share with you the pivot points. All right. So now you're going to look to like basically early December of 2026 for a clue into the direction things are moving. And then you're going to take another pivot point, and it's going to be on January the 29th of 2027. On January the 29th of 2027, Mercury will be in Aquarius, directly opposite Jupiter in the sign of Leo. That's an opposition. That means it's a critical, like a full moon energy, a critical highlight, a critical fulfillment, a critical exclamation mark on what this creative, juicy, wonderful, beautiful, divine love, higher love, power of love, karmic justice being served in one's life, and the energy too of that beautiful growth and luck and expansion that Jupiter offers, especially when it comes to love and love in the heart, and especially when it comes as well to anything to do with your creative powers that you wish to express in this world. In fact, I didn't say it, but there is a star that's all about one's creativity as well, that's connected to the donkey constellation, that's really active when these two planets come together on August 15th. So we have a lot of creative energy here, and creativity is God's gift to humanity, right? God is a creator. We are creative sparks of the divine, and we're creating things. We are being God-like. So yeah, good for us. Moving on to the fourth point. So you've got basically December 4th of 2026. You got January 29th of 2027. Always give or take a day on either side, of course. And then you have May the 3rd of 2027. So that's the last act. That's the 3-act structure. And that's like a waning, that's like a last quarter moon, right? And then it all completes in August of 2027, like mid-August, and the whole story is done. So what I'm promising you is something between this mid-August to mid-August of 2027 is a Leo jumpstart of goodness connected to a very rare cycle, not seen since 1896 if we include the South Node. Trust me on that. I did the research. Now, the second thing I want to say to you, and I'm going to show you a chart before I show you the wheel, is I want you to get the sense of this, like this pattern in reality. So let's see if I can pull up the stories of the screen shares I have for you. And this is astroseek.com. You can go there, astro-seek.com. It's a completely wonderful, user-friendly site where you can get all this data that I'm giving, so you don't have to rely on Lori to give you the data, right? That's my goal for Sky Reader, to teach you to read your own sky and be your own best astrologer. So that's why I have a mission. All right. One of my missions is to get you guys to read the sky. I believe I'm sharing this. God forbid I'm not. Hopefully you can see a little chart here. I just want you to see how this cycle looks so you can use it in your own reality. I get a concept for it, right? Yes, we see Mercury-Jupiter happening 1979, and that was no South Node presence, okay? But we had energies of the Leo sky in your chart being awakened by a good news transit. And when we look at, July of 1979 and August of 79, then because of retrogradation, then we add a whole year. So August of 79, summer of 79 to summer of 1980 is a positive area of reality. And then we look at 1991, and it would have been summer again. There's retrogradation. So you see July and August of that year. There was no South Node activated during that time. It happened in 1990. There was South Node Leo, Jupiter. So it's not like this exactly. South Node is our deep spiritual surrender, our release, and the archetype of destiny and fate. All right. And then we move onwards from the 1991 to 92 window, and you go to 2003. July of 2003, and you add a year. So go back to your life in July of 2003 to July of 2004. What was going on in your life? It's going to have a feeling that's quite similar, not exactly, of course, but just the Jupiter, Mercury, Leo sky was lit for you. Okay. And a 1 year sort of good news narrative of some type. So when I get to my chart, I'll explain how that felt for me. So I'll give you some examples when I show you my Aquarius story, because it does make sense to me. And then in 2014, August of 2015, again, there's that good news, positive energy here. And seek and ye shall find. Okay, I love that for this. I got that from Ren Butler's Archetypal Universe. And I do like the idea of Jupiter and Mercury. Mercury's a messenger of the gods, and we're asking Jupiter, the top dog, benefic god of the universe, for help. So there's I'm seeking divine counsel here, or goodness, and I'm getting some answers back. Seeking you shall find. And finally, 2015, 16, right? Again, August to August, what was happening in your reality then? How can you compare notes? And here we are, August 15th of 2026. We won't see this conjunction again in Leo until 2038. Therefore, it is significant. All right, let's share the other chart that I've got for you guys, and let me show you what that is about in your understanding of astrology. And so you can use this kind of information in your own life and get a sense of what we're actually discussing. What you're going to see here is another chart, and what we've got going in this little screen share is you're going to see how Mercury will join Jupiter every single year, but in a different sign, and with retrogradation sometimes more than once. So you'll notice in January of 21, February, and March of 2021, there were 3 co-joinings of Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius with Mercury. And so all of you Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising might be able to look back at that time and pluck the auspicious goodness of the spring of 21 to the spring of 22, and see how that looked in your reality, connected to, for you guys, of course, Aquarius, it's happening in your sign. And then we saw it, in 2022, March, it was good for the Pisces at 2023. And then in 2023 to 24, it was good for Aries folk, March to March. And in 2024, June to summer of 2025, it was good news, 4x, 3x structures for people who are Geminis. And Gemini, you got a double hit, which is amazing, which you got another kind of nice touchdown here in a double, retrogradation story. So he's kind of like June of 2004. And then again in June of 2025, you got 2 solid years of this energy because of retrogradation, opening up 2 very fortunate years for all Geminis. With my progressed Gemini sun, I can say that was when I incorporated, and my sun, my career, my business took off. And then here in 2026, August to August 19th of 2027, it is benefiting, of course, Leos most directly, and then it will be the Virgos next. Now, it doesn't mean that nobody gets benefit from it. It's just if your signs are any of these, you've been getting this hitting you quite directly. All right, now I'm going to try to stop the share with my stop share button and come back to the astrology together. This time it didn't cut me off. All right, so what I want you to look at next, guys, is we're going to talk about the sky by sharing the astrology wheel with you and going into your sign. And I'm going to briefly cover some potential world events, very briefly cover some potential world events that may occur under this sky on or close to the 15th of the month. And then I promise you we will do your sign. You can always jump ahead to your timestamps. You don't need to wait for me to do world events. But if you like world events astrology, it's called mundane. This is what we're doing, like it or not. And let's get started. Okay, first of all, as you notice, I just had it accidentally set for Libra rising. I told you Mercury was coming into contact with Jupiter, and he had a hookup with Mercury on the 13th, with Venus, I mean. And you'll notice that Venus is also attitudinally connected to certain stories. This is Sisyphus. Where have you been pushing a boulder uphill in love stories, peace, harmony, and ease? Where have you been pushing a boulder up a hill that keeps rolling back down every time? It's too hard, guys, to roll it up and down in love. If you're rolling a boulder in a love relationship up a hill, right? That's what I'm saying. How hard is that? It's ridiculous. It keeps rolling back on you. Mercury knows that. He was talking to Venus and Sisyphus, like first Venus and then Sisyphus right away as he comes into Jupiter's embrace. So there's just something about where love has been too hard, it's time to surrender it. Or where commerce and economics in your life have been too hard, time to change it. Surrender that path. Where justice and fairness have been lacking in your life, time for a shift of direction or attitude for something new and better to happen. And this is Icarus, where your wings are melting. And again, as soon as Mercury gets through this story, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, Varuna, the Hindu ocean god, after he's going through that, he's also talking to the melting wings story, and it's almost happening all at once. So there's kind of a stamp here of, where have your wings been melting in your life? Is it justice, fairness, love, beauty, friendship, marriage? This is long-term committed love is Libra, even if you're not married. And this has been a place where you've had your wings melting and you're falling from the sky like Icarus has. But there's a good news story here because it wants to change, because Jupiter says we're shifting it, we're making it better and bigger. And the South Node, which is in the sign of Leo, I don't know why I don't have the South Node in here, sorry. The South Node is in the sign of Leo, which brings fate and destiny to the story. World events. I don't know who's died, why we're having a funeral service. That's Memoria in the sign of Capricorn. This is opposite Mars in the sign of Cancer. And I think around this time, we're talking about August the 15th. And it can be a female is melting her wings. It could be some kind of leonine character, famous Leo person. I've done dozens of videos on famous Leo people: J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, Madonna. Pope Leo's got Leo stuff going on. So there's, maybe Tulsi Gabbard and Erica Kirk, because I've rectified them. So all of these people could be involved in memorial services. It doesn't mean it's their memorial service. They could be going to somebody else's memorial service. Okay. So I'm not sure who it is, what it is, but around this time we may see something to do with Memoria, which is about memorials. So I don't know, maybe we can see Mars is approaching. So it could be even midweek before that, like the 13th or the 12th, through to the weekend. Whose funeral service is this? Let's see what happens in the comments. Do you have any ideas? We'll see what happens. I'm recording on August the 5th, so it may be already, by the time this video comes out, we all know who this is. I'd be surprised if nothing happens. This is the Sphinx. I do like the fact that Mercury was talking with Uranus, shock and awe, and the Sphinx. There's an Italian team of scientists who think there's another Sphinx buried under a sand pile on Giza Plateau based on satellite radar technology. Well, Mercury's delivering the news, and this is something that surprises people. He was connected, like I'd say about midweek, the 12th, 13th, with the Sphinx asteroid, and then he goes into Jupiter's embrace on the 15th. So something around big disclosures, either around things to do with Egypt itself, Sinai Peninsula, maybe Giza Plateau, or literally the Sphinx. And this is a bull. This is about where we go into a rage, where we might lose control, where we see red, so to speak. And this is a world story. This is not you seeing red, but I would say that there's some people seeing red. There's some kind of a rage, a collective rage is expressing through the archetype of justice, Venus, Jupiter, justice, law, justice, balance, harmony, and collective rage. Scorpio has been extremely active when it comes to three-letter agencies, stealth agencies, and the e-files. So more disclosures and discoveries could incite a collective rage. And this is any time on this week that you're looking at this, but I'd say the 12th or 13th of the month of August through until the weekend on the 15th. So we shall now leave the world astrology behind. Yes, we will. And we're going to go into your sign. Hello, guys. You always ask me, rising sign, sun or moon. How do I listen to this thing in astrology? Well, your sun is who you really are. Think of it about your spiritual essence, your divine light, the flame of your soul that lives forever, takes on a body, and that body is the ascendant. You might think of your sun sign like the actor who plays the role in the movie. Your sun is the real you, and the role you're playing in the movie, well, that's your rising sign. You tend to look like that sign. You tend to act like the personhood of that character in the simulation. It is not your real self, but you need a vehicle for your spirit to express. And when we look at your moon sign, we think about how you feel and think about life, your happiness, your emotional blueprint, your subjective well-being. But you remember the moon is only reflecting the light of the spiritual essence of you, the sun. So therefore, it's a temporary aspect or an operating system for your consciousness. I see a lot of the time that people's moon sign is really useful when you want to see how you're going to feel about this sky, but it also connects you very strongly to energies of home, safety nest, and mother. The moon is that stuff to do with the nurturant part of reality. When we talk about your sun sign, it can be father related material, but also connections to your purpose and career. For your soul is inherited, it's on planet Earth to do something, right? And we usually call that a purpose of some kind. And lastly, the ascendant, very sensitive to your body, very sensitive to the fates and the circumstances of life. That is where your rising sign is, how you showed up, took the first breath of life. What was the sign on the eastern horizon at the time of birth? That's what the rising sign is. And it's very accurate for delineating astrology, at least until the age of mid-40s. And we begin to move back into our true self, into our solar energy. And we'll notice that our sun sign becomes as accurate or can be more and more actively useful for prediction. Already, sometimes you'll look at children for the first 7 years and they're operating primarily on sun sign energy. So when you're looking at your kids, definitely listen for their sun sign over their rising sign. All right, guys, here's that short form. Take it away. Let's go into the chart ahead. We're going to start with Libra today. I'm going to break protocol just because you guys are having such a strong attachment to this energy. Let's get started. So don't forget, you got a whole year to let this play out. Please go watch the beginning of the video where I give you the dates, okay? But in the meantime, literally the good news transit is here. Seek and ye shall find is here. The days of your life is here. And you are receiving a blessing because where Jupiter is blessing you with Mercury is in the house of your career gains, your gains in your life, the actualization of your long-term desires, your dreams, your goals. But it also is blessing you in the house of friendships and social circles. And those things are going to expand. But what's most important is that you are perceiving love right now as your wings are melting, as you go into this conjunction, your wings have been melting. You might have been dealing with some difficulty in romantic, sexual, and love. You might have been feeling like you're pushing a boulder up the love hill. Now, if you don't have a love partner, the boulder could be the lack of love. Every time you go on a date or whatever, you know, the burdens of love, the impossible burdens of love. So this is something a lot of Libras, sun, moon, and rising may have been experiencing. And in this regard, we have some good news because there's a turnaround story here. Jupiter and Mercury say, let's shift gears. Let's move this into something positive, lucky, and delightfully yay you, especially because Mercury will crash into Aphrodite, the goddess of love. And as he does, he helps heal whatever this boulder melting wings story has been. You're going to notice that this like kind of love redeemed, love redemption, seeking love and finding love, seeking healing in current love stories and finding the healing you need. You're going to see this play out, as I mentioned before, in 3-act structures. You're going to see some turning points in December, early December of this year, the exact dates in the intro, in late January of 27 and in May of 2027, early May. So those are 3 pivots of the story. Although I would expect you'll have a pretty good clue from the universe of what's really going on here around the time of August the 15th. So I want you to pay attention to how you're feeling about love itself or how you're feeling about someone that you love and see if there isn't some kind of spark of redemption or some kind of glitter of hope, because the way the South Node operates, you could find your real life partner if you're single through your social groups of friends of belonging, your crew, so to speak, and people that are your allies and benefactors. And if you're already with somebody, there's just something very sweet trying to happen. Look at your love life over here, Libra rising especially. It's been burdened. Maybe you've got a mentally health challenged partner, a partner's going through grief, loss, and struggle, a partner's having addiction issues or something like that. But if you're not with someone, not to worry. But this has been a tension spot for you. You can see that Venus in August is doing the love is hard story, right? But this is a pivot turnaround. And I think you're going to have a kind of second chance at love. Okay, and it can be even a second chance at a former love coming back from the past. So this is a story that gives you the good news story. Finally, Venus herself in your sign, your goddess, is very auspicious and very protective of you. But I would note that Jupiter is also important, for he exalts your career house, your profession, and he is the lord of your work house. I wonder if there's going to also be some very significant increase in your prosperity, Venus, luck and growth and expansion and success in the bounds, in the area of life that you would say career and work. That's another promise that the sky is giving you beyond the love story. And in this regard, it looks like you have a beautiful next 12 months through to August of 27, where you are up leveling your success, maybe being more creative and slightly entrepreneurial as well. I am not going by day. I want to go by hour. Hours. These are the hours of our lives. These are the days of our lives. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. It's hard for me to not imagine this being about bad pleasures, but let's get started. Venus loves her bad pleasures. That means romantic love, sexual love. She loves solitude here. Mercury was talking with her before he joined with Jupiter on the 15th, having a beautiful convo about the space between your professional ambition and reputation and what you do in solitude and aloneness, whether that is the pleasures of the bed with someone you love or yourself, or whether it has something to do with the need for creative solitude. Often when Venus is in the 12th house, it's like the artist needs to write his book or the singer needs to practice her songs. And so there's going to be a kind of feeling where you're going to notice that Mercury is translating to Jupiter opportunity and expansion for that creative solitude in your life. You may be able to pull away from too much work, South Node in the 10th house, and move into something to do with your year-long experience of being able to be creative and alone, or to experience intimacy and pleasure in the bed at a new success story level, whatever that means for you. I don't know if your wings have been melting here. Venus says, can we get down and, write a poem, do a canvas of painting? Can we create something amazing? And especially since she rules your house of the arts and creativity and enthusiasm and joy, your fifth house, as well as entrepreneurial gig stuff. And here you've got this melting wings and the Sisyphus, you're pushing that boulder up, wanting to have had that alone time or that bed pleasure time or that retreat, like the ashram of your life in the days of our lives. And all of a sudden, because it's been difficult, Mercury, Jupiter are trying to solve the problem. They're applying to Venus with an answer, applying towards her with a solution. And there's Aphrodite here. And Aphrodite doesn't have to be romantic love only. It can be where we have life force turn on energy, the erotic impulse, which is life energy, life force vitality, regarding something that we put our heart into, right? It's Leo. Your creativity wants to be expressed as heartfelt. And even to the point where whatever you create in your downtime in the next year, you eventually want to bring it to the realm of profession or public recognition. And, Jupiter is the exaltation lord of your house of book publishing and the word international. And whatever you're creating in your Libra library book downtime could be literally a book that you want to create. And Mercury, of course, is the writer, and Jupiter is the luck and success. So we got a lot of powerful energy there for you. And don't forget 3 points to it takes off. It'll have momentum in December 4th. It'll have a next level of momentum at the end of January next year. And at the last gasp of the story will be May of 2027 and completing in August of 27. So look at those pivot points, right? I introduced the exact dates in the beginning of the video, so go back and look at it. I don't know how you're feeling with the bull here. You might be feeling very bullish, very powerful, like a charging bull, but it's another story altogether. And anything else I have for you? No, I think not. I will mention one thing. Because this is a new beginning and a reset button in your solar house and the sun is up there, there is prosperity up there. And what I mean by that is that this is the house of the father with the sun, the father energy there. And because that is possibly with Varuna, the crater god of the oceans, leaving a legacy. So Varuna has to do with the word legacy. And there's a potential with the 12th house and the 8th house looking like this, that you may be coming into a legacy of money, okay? And that would be up between this actual conjunction, August the 15th of this year until August of 27. You may come into inheritance money from a father figure, and especially with Pluto Uranus. So that's another element for you to consider. And it could even be money from a spouse or the in-laws as well, but it feels like lots of money coming your way. All right, let's talk to Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising, and get a beat on this year-long story. The good news transit starts up here for us. Seek and you will find in the days of your lives. It starts up here in your 9th house on August 15th. It is about a new beginning, a fresh start, a seed is planted. It could take some of you off to travel, pilgrimages, long trips abroad in the next year. It could also open up success and winnings in court and legal matters. It could open up visa passport opportunities, and it could open up book publishing deals and chances to go off to college or university and be very fortunate in whatever happens with that, and follow your heart into those pilgrimages, those travels, those publishing deals, or these educational opportunities. Go into what you love. Aphrodite is the desire nature, and it is what you do truly desire, making your true desires come to pass. And I find that with the energy of Venus having to push a boulder up a hill and having her wings melting, these are the archetypes of the asteroids, Sisyphus and Icarus. Mercury knows that there's been trouble here, right? Mercury's been paying attention. He talked to Venus before he talked to Jupiter. So where have you been feeling like you're pushing a boulder up a hill when it comes to your career gains, when it comes to the actualization of goals, dreams, and wishes, when it comes to a relationship with a sibling, one older than you, above you in birth order, born before you, just before you? And where have you been pushing a boulder and having your wings melting in friendships, in groups of belonging? There may be really hard energy for you here, and that wants to also turn itself around. Ultimately, the things that you would do in this part of the chart anyway with Venus is enjoy the company of your groups of belonging, social networks, and friends. But it's feeling like you've been pushing a boulder up a hill to get any traction. You might even feel a sense of isolation or something where you're not really connecting to your friends because Venus is ruling Chiron, the outsider. So there's something going on with your reality where this has been hard. Social time, friendship networks and circles, the sibling one older you than you kind of really felt difficult for you. And now this is like, okay, turnaround story, right? So you don't turn it around in a day, although there's some good news energy and some seeking and finding energy coming through on the 15th of August. I want you to also go to December 4th of this year, January 29th of next year, and May 3rd of next year, closing the chapter out in mid-August of 27. So those are the pivot points for this very rare, please hope you listened to the intro, this way not seen since 1896. So we're going to call it first in a lifetime good news transit, therefore. And I think you're going to enjoy this pivot point because this is the house of good spirit. It's one of the lucky houses, okay, guys? And, so something really good is trying to happen here for you. And, Mercury is the ruler of your marriage house. And say that you've been looking to, maybe you got friend zoned by somebody. Maybe you fell in love with a friend. Maybe your marriage partnership has turned into some kind of, friendly thing instead of passionate. I don't know. But there is a sense that Mercury and Jupiter together could pivot you into a surprising, exciting new love story. This is particularly powerful for single Sages, and new love can look like love in a foreign land, love with a foreigner, love because you're traveling, love in a spiritual community. But there is a potential for that destined love to story to reap the rewards thereof. If you've been belabored in love, and if love has felt like it's been lacking, and we're talking about committed love, not dating love already, this could bring you a very powerful marriage partner as well. And Jupiter would bring it because there's shared values spiritually. There's something about you wanting to be with somebody who carries the same vibration about your ideology, your spiritual worldview. And maybe also somebody with whom you can travel or do travel. I do love that Mercury bumps right into Aphrodite there. You know, bro, are you like in love with somebody you meet in a courthouse? Are you going to fall in love, or are you falling in love with somebody who's from a different language, culture, religious background? Who knows? But there's something valuable here. I think it's more like a shared values because of the Venus sextile to Mercury. All right, so that's what I got for the Sagittarius. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. The thing about this story for you is looking at your career space where you've been pushing a boulder up a hill and it keeps rolling back at you. Or maybe your wings have melted in your career space, or your reputation has melted and you've been pushing a boulder up a hill to get the world's esteem back and to feel like you're on top of your success game in some area. Now, technically, because this boulder Sisyphus pushing, laboring thing is happening with Venus, and the melting of the wings are here. And I think I moved ahead a little more than I wanted, but just trust me on that. Mercury has been talking with Venus. He knows what's been going on. He's got the vibe that Venus is in troubled waters here, and no problem, because as he goes into the heart of Jupiter's embrace on August the 15th, he's telling Jupiter, we need to find a solution for you. And this is chunky money. This is backroom business deals. This is venture capital. This can be business partnerships, shared resources. So for career matters for Capricorns, there may be a nice uptick here as well. Now, if you've been dealing with challenges legally when it comes to money connected to shared resources, especially marriage resources, then there's a new turning point here as well in the money you share with another person. And there's going to be something good trying to happen, some turnaround story of some type. With Aphrodite, which represents the goddess of love, and there's Venus as well, same thing. Mercury, as soon as he leaves Jupiter, falls into Aphrodite's arms. So I want you to take August the 15th. I want you to start on August the 13th, okay? I want you to look at August the 15th as this good news, seeking and finding in the days of your lives, moment of time. It definitely could lead to some kind of work opportunity, especially with the trine. Venus is supportive trine from Uranus. And it also can look like a turning point in anything to do with romantic love and sexuality. There's a lot of modern astrology who likes to look at the people who like intimacy, sexual intimacy connected to the 8th house. And while I often only include the 5th house, I do see it happen in people's charts where there's activations here. And it has to do with romantic and sexual love. And I'm wondering if there's something going on, therefore, where you might be feeling that this is a pivot point in your romantic and sexual life. Venus is the ruler of Chiron, the wound in the house of sex and romance. So you could go on a date, you could have sex with somebody, you could renew the sexual intimacy with your marriage partner or something like that. So we're looking at something that's connected or to around the 13th of the month, and it's dovetailing into a larger good news story beginning August 15th. So on August 15th, we have pivot points over the course of a year, December 4th of this year, January 29th of next year, and May 3rd of next year, 2027, closing the chapter down on August 19th next year. So those are the turning point stories to pay attention to how the good news transit unfolds over time in various chapters and storyline pivots, just like chapters in a book or acts in a play. And finally, a hidden or secret love may blossom into a public love story in the next year, right? Where a romance is low key or under the covers or not too shared. This can be like engagement announcements or wedding plans or announcements of some sort connected to a sort of low key, off the radar love story blossoming into this part of the sky. Love and career blossoms here. All right, I am an Aquarius. So, hello, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I am definitely one of you. And this story I gave you, if you please go back and listen to the intro where I gave you other dates that Mercury and Jupiter co-joined here. For me, it's always involved relationships every single time because this is the house of committed love. And Jupiter always gives us what we need, not what we want. So he can also pivot us to end a relationship, but we would call it a blessed ending, a namaste ending for the most part. So for me, a lot of times the Jupiter Mercury stories in the past have literally looked like that, right? They've been the onset of an ending of a relationship, and that's okay. Like that would have been, for example, going back in time, August of 2015 to 16, and then I moved out of a marriage house that I was with a guy for 8 years. So, it's not always like, oh, good news. It's like definitive news that has a blessed piece to it, for example. So if you want the dates, go watch the intro, please, of all of the past Jupiter conjunctions. This one is 1896 rare. South Node is different. This would bring you something completely unlike anything before. Like I can't even make this up because in July of 2003 to July of 2004, I separated from my 20-year marriage. So both of those have been the beginning or the onset of legal Jupiter separation from marital partners. And so this time I'm not married, I'm not with anybody. So this time there's a South Node, which is destiny and fate, past life, soulmate energy can happen. So there may be a pattern interrupt for some of you Aquarians who recognize the pivots of endings and beginnings. So being a single girl at this time, this is positive. This could bring a new person in. So you too. We're looking at something that starts now on August the 15th. You felt some energy here, okay? I want you to go back to the 12th or 13th when Mercury was sextiling Venus, and Venus has got a boulder she's pushing up a hill. She's a love goddess pushing a boulder up a hill, and it keeps rolling back on her. And she's also had her wings melting in love. And this is the foreign house. So if any of you have been involved in a love relationship that requires international travel, long distance travel, or you had a romance with somebody who's a foreign person, and that's me, by the way, and pushing that boulder up the hill kind of thing, you're coming to a close of that story because Mercury, as I said in the intro, talked to Venus, and he said, I'm going to talk to Jupiter. We'll find a solution. Jupiter, he's the fixer-upper. So what it looks like is Mercury then also, after leaving Jupiter's arms, plows into legacy Cretan ocean god Varuna, and then also into Aphrodite's arms here. Is that there's something about a love in the setting place that's faded. In other words, no matter what love travails you've had in the past, something new is trying to bloom here, beginning on August the 15th and finishing by mid-August of 2027. So for single Aquariuses, there's a 90% chance you're going to be in a new partnership. For those of you in an existing marriage, long-term committed love story, then there's something new blossoming in the love. You may travel abroad with your partner. You may want to go into spiritual community with your partner. You may find yourself having a resurgence of updormic meaning or path in terms of your partnership feeling like it's a part of a life purpose or something. For you, though, it is really, unless it's about a business partnership deal, because Jupiter and Mercury are e-commerce engines, e-commerce, economic commerce. It doesn't have to be just like commercial agreements, legal agreements, business partnerships begin to thrive if you've been trying to push a boulder up a hill of aligning with business partnership energy as well. Now, your enterprise in the world, like you're an entrepreneur, for example, or you put stuff out into the audience marketplace, clients, this is a new energy for you. This is going to be finding the lion's heart of loving what you're sharing with the world, while at the same time wanting to leave a legacy. And because South Node is here, you want to bring spiritual depth and truth into the world. And so now you begin to blossom August the 15th at a year in that endeavor. And this would be maybe to align it with teaching or publishing or things that ninth house stories represent. And there are pivot points in the love story for you, like, to pay attention to for all of us. And I'm going to give them to you again. December 4th of this year. And then January 29th of next year, and May 3rd of next year, and ending in August of 2027. Those are the three pivotal act structure points. So things are upgrading, things are moving forward, things are changing. in a positive way to allow for this story to unfold completely. And for you, it's angular, right? It's going to happen in Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus. So it also could change where you live. It could change your career path. It could change your home life. It could change your identity, but it's all happening because of other people. Now, Jupiter can represent a guru. And Mercury is knowledge and information from a guru. You can't make this stuff up, but I've been invited to like a Buddhist monk talks, in my local neighborhood in some wealthy person's home, and I haven't gone yet. And I'm recording on August the 5th. And the next time I could go will be around August the 13th. So that could be just simply the entry into my life of a very powerful spiritual community or teacher. All right. Or I could meet my guy in that community. So there's some ways I could say maybe that's the doorway for that as well. So I'm giving you some examples here. And, I gave you the times that this happened in the past for every single sign. So please go back and listen to the intro. It's all time stamped. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign people. This is a Jupiter tail in a house of sickness. Therefore, you will be bringing in health. This is Jupiter in a house of work. You will be bringing in positive and very exciting new work directions. Yeah, you had this before. Go listen to the intro. August of 2014, add a year, or August 14 and 15. No, sorry. You've had this before. I almost forgot my right calendar here. Yeah. I was saying it right. Doe. Like I'm having a doe moment. Yeah, you had this back in 2014-15. So Leo actually went to 2016. So you can compare notes. Please listen to the intro when I give you more exact dates. But it is going to improve your health, because Jupiter will always find a solution to a problem. And it will also increase your success, prosperity, expansion, and growth in your work. And it could even bring you a new pet. All of those are true for every Pisces listening today. But I want you to think about the deeper story here. Venus has been pushing a boulder up a hill, and her wings have been melting in the house of shared money with her spouse or long-term partner in love, with her in-law money, and pushing a boulder up a hill in her own, like credit cards, banks, loans, mortgages. And because Jupiter's in the house of debt, it can really help you turn around a debt story with financial institutions. For example, in the year that follows this conjunction, this good news transit of August 15th, it could also look like there's a big turning point in any kind of financial matter connected to unearned income and shared resources. So anything, inheritance monies, tax rebates, insurance payouts, but there's a positive turnaround in this story for you. And if you've been pushing a boulder up a hill, it's likely it's like a financial boulder, the mortgage, the credit card debt, the things you have to tend to on the financial front. It could even be issues with the in-laws and their money situation. Okay, there's just challenges here. Or the health of an in-law has been struggling, and now the in-law's health is going to turn around. Mercury rules your marriage house. Mercury's heading into into Jupiter's arms. And I want to talk about that just briefly, because it may not be that there's anything wrong with your marriage or your long-term love relationship, but rather there's financial challenges in that relationship. And because Jupiter and Mercury are feeling out a solution together, we'll see Mercury with Varuna, which is legacy. The word legacy is here. And we also can think legacy wealth. And the second thing we're going to notice is that Mercury will come into the arms of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. So now I've got a new story to tell you. If you are single and you want to be in a love relationship, then you may find yourself in a professional arena, your workspace, and a blossoming of a new love. Or the love that you had to keep secret because it was a work and professional love story, you're now able to share more broadly with the world. So releasing you from the secret or hidden loves that felt like pushing a boulder while your wings were melting up the hill. So there's a story of secret love becoming healed, but this can be in a professional setting. This is karmic debts, karmic love relationships coming to a healing. And again, turning your health problems around, especially if it involves kidneys, right? Because Venus is in the sign of kidneys. Or if it anything to do with your cardiovascular health, that could be a turnaround story as well for many, many of you. Don't forget, this is happening over time in different chapters. And so I gave you the chapters in the beginning, but to remind you again, and go to the timestamps for the intro, please. You're going to go for December 4th, better health, pets, debt relief, etc. So remember what I mentioned. You're going to see a January 29th pivot, like a full moon, a big blossoming, and a kind of waning last bouquet of goodness on May the 3rd, 2027, with the whole very rare, not since the 1896 story completing August of 2027. So good luck with that. I'd love to hear how it goes for you. Don't forget, Jupiter's your guy, right? He's the Lord of Pisces, not Neptune. No, 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 no. And so you can trust him to bring you what you need at this time. All right, so Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a vibration of extraordinary fertility. Now, you could be making babies down here, and you could be actually birthing things, birthing a baby business in your Jupiterian Leo South Node story, birthing creative artistic expressions, building empires of enthusiastic, vitalizing creativity. Whatever this is, the entrepreneurial space is very blessed right now by Jupiter's presence. And also with Jupiter here, and it's so funny because I am an Aries sun and moon, and sun is my career. When Jupiter was here in 2014 and 15, finishing up in 2016, a double hit, double tap, so to speak, eeks, go watch the intro. I birthed my first entrepreneurial direction. I started to look at becoming an entrepreneur in the metaphysical realm. So you're probably going to be able to compare notes to some degree, but this is 1896 rare. And so you want to birth Jupiter, fertility, children, a baby business, a baby creative project, a baby something here. It could be a real baby, because if you are of a childbearing age, it could indicate a destined soulmate child pregnancy in the 12 months it could follow this conjunction of August the 15th. In fact, if you were going to have a baby, you would probably fulfill the desire to have a child during the Aquarius part of the story. And that could be something like, hello world, I have a baby inside of me, or my partner does. That would kind of show its hand to you at the end of January next year. One thing I want to mention is the travails that Venus has had in your marriage house. Long-term committed love, sustained, committed, and monogamous relationship of any kind. Venus has been pushing a boulder up a hill and it keeps rolling back, and her wings have been melting. And then Mercury notices the problem and gets Jupiter to bring a solution. And yet Jupiter and Mercury notice that Jupiter and Mercury both will jump into the arms of Aphrodite. So bottom line, there's a new love story here for you. Or it could even be the renewal of an old love story, just because of Saturn retrograde in your first house. Otherwise, who exalts your marriage house. So an old love story may be resurrected from the grave through discernment, or a new love story may be emerging in your reality. And we want that commitment love, not just a fling. And South Node is the destiny factor. And because Aphrodite's positioned to receive not only Mercury, but also Jupiter, there is a very big love story here. This is like epic love, larger than life love, true and big love, good and wise and spiritually heart-centered love. Legacy, all your creations, everything you want to create here, art projects, business projects in the next year, you have one criteria. Will it be something I'm happy to leave behind when I'm no longer here? Legacy is going to be the ocean god Varuna. It's going to be important. You want to leave something of deep value here in this story. And cosmic justice can be served, but it's not really a justice house. It's a vitalizing, enthusiastic, creative, and entrepreneurial house. So you might leave something, though, that you consider executes a cosmic justice in the world, in your creativity itself. Now, one more thing I want to say before we go ahead and do the next sign. Sometimes the fifth house can bring winnings. It's called the house of good fortune. And in the house of windfalls, Pluto, the god of wealth, is sitting. And therefore, it's not inconceivable that Jupiter, Mr. Luck, Mercury, the ticket, can bring you a winning ticket. Okay, so yes, I mean like a lottery ticket or a speculation or a gambling move. So where you play to win, a game of chance of some kind, you might come into a win. That's what I see. And Venus would be, importantly, the money piece as well. If you win money, there's something you might want to do with it, like to partner with another or share the winnings with another or something like that. Libra is the one-on-one energy. And yeah, and if you've been pushing that boulder up a love hill in committed love, right, this is going to turn around. So those of you in longer relationships, it's a struggle. My marriage partner is a struggle. The relationship's a struggle. All of this feels like pushing a boulder up the hill and it keeps rolling back on me. There's no momentum, right? Well, that's going to change. There's no doubt about it. So I want you to consider that turning points in existing love relationships are just as possible. It's funny, as a Aries sun and moon, I had, a couple year relationship almost with a fella, and he lived in the United States, and then we became friends instead because there was like pushing the boulder up the hill of long distance love relationship being difficult, right? Wings melting. So I look at this guy and I wonder what that is. Is that like a renewal of that relationship, or is that an expiry date and a new one coming in? But we shall see what that looks like. And finally, Venus here is the ruler of your money house. And so again, it can look like winning money, right? So I don't want to oversell it ever, but that can be a story for you here. All right, we're going to move on to Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. All right, Taurians, you bulls, you bully bulls, you're looking at home, property, real estate, land, where you live, and legacy wealth from the family of origin. All of these themes are in a 1 year storyline. And in the intro, I gave people the pivot points. I forgot to do it for you Aries, but again, watch the intro, guys. There's going to be turning points, happening December 4th, January 29th, May 3rd next year, ending in next August. So in those elemental stages, 4 parts, so to speak, 3 parts. First of all, Jupiter here is very prone to bringing money and prosperity connected to land and property, real estate, and inheritances. Jupiter rules your inheritance house. You can also get a bigger home, a more beautiful home, a destined home, a fated home. And you might also find you're more prosperous from things you do in and from the home. And Mercury rules your entrepreneurial business. So home-based entrepreneurial businesses can support many Taurians in the next year. Now, because this is also hooked up to Mercury Venus on the 13th of August, Mercury is having a conversation before the conjunction with Venus, and he's like, Venus, you're struggling. Your wings are melting, and you're pushing a boulder up a hill, and it keeps rolling back down on you. Now, that's the workhouse. That's your job. That's your servitude. Yeah, sure, maybe it could be your servants, and they're not working for you, right? And you're like pushing a boulder up a hill to get the right maid or something. Sure. But this is you being of service because Venus rules you. So where you have a job, where you work hard, where you're in the service modality, because I have to have a job, right? You think to yourself, there's no other choice. Yes, it's been like pushing a boulder up a hill, and your wings have been melting, perhaps. Good news is that Jupiter and Mercury are plotting a solution for you. And so you want to go into the 3 part story, right? And because it's angular and it's very powerful for you, you'll see the turning of the wheel of this situation. Let's say work, money, home, prosperity, earnings. Mercury rules your earnings. Those are the storylines. Taking a pivot in the month of December 4th. So that could be a move, that could be a new job, that could be both. More money, different money situations. And then we see another pivot taking place January 29th next year. And then the last pivot, May the 3rd of 2027. So all said and done by August of next year, you may have changed your home, changed your job, increased your earnings and money, right? There's a new shift coming in here for you. And it also can be an auspicious story of coming into some inheritance money of some kind from a solar figure, which is a father or father figure. Yes, it is. But not all of us are going to get inheritance money. So it could be business partnership deals, money from your in-laws, and money connected to gambling and speculation. That one's the least likely of all of it, but it could happen here as well. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. So the vibe of the not seen since 1896 Mercury conjunction to Jupiter with a south node in your third house has arrived. It's not a lot you can compare to because it's so rare. But if you had to try to gander back, in the intro, I shared this with everybody. It's kind of like your life, 2014, 15, 16, those 2 years. It was a longer cycle. And this has to do with the place of your media. Now, that can be social media, that can be legacy media, and this is your ideas. And in our modern day, this is our online world. It's also the house of siblings and short distance travel. And it's also the house of our ideas and thinking process. And sometimes we do things here like skills-based learning and skills-based teaching. It's also a writing house. All said and done, this part of your sky, Gemini, is up for positive turnaround days of our lives stories where you're going to feel a new kind of solution and joy and luck and growth and expansion. There is a seek and you shall find here for you. Now, Mercury notices that Venus was struggling in the fifth house. And Venus here is in a house of sexual and romantic love stories. She's also in a house of pregnancy and fertility and children. And she's also in a house of creative, entrepreneurial, and artistic endeavors. And the natural expression of your talents and gifts you're born to give to the world, like your kind of natural genetic abilities that you were good at birth. And so here we have Venus having been daunted by her wings melting, like, my wings are melting. And this feeling of the melting wings, this feeling like it's ain't happening the way I want. I'm going to move us back to the day before because I just have to show you what the sky really looks like. Yeah. Have your wings melted in romantic love? Have you felt like you're pushing a boulder up the hill? Is your creative and artistic and entrepreneurial stuff like really a drag because you push it up, it comes back? The boulder doesn't seem to want to go up the hill. That futility feeling is there, or that overwhelm as well, the wings melting from, getting too close to the sun. So that's not your future. Something new is happening here. So your creativity and artistic expression, your entrepreneurial expression, and your pregnancy fertility stories are turning around. Now, Jupiter here in the third house can bring you a lot of success in the social media landscape if that's a part of what you do, but also in brick and mortar businesses as well. So there's some opportunity here. The expansion and growth is here for you. And this kind of window of Mercury, Jupiter, and then he goes into legacy, Varuna, and Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Well, it looks like you could be writing or communicating or teaching or marketing something that has legacy value. Your heart is in it. Your courageous lion heart is getting into this energy. Mercury is the lord of your sign, and he's in a very productive house, right? You put a lot of motivational effort into this house to produce ideas, to create content, maybe to market and sell, to teach, or to learn as well. So there may be a new teacher coming your way in the local neighborhood around where you live or online, and your heart will be fully in it. Your heart will be there. Varuna, the creation, the ocean god of the Indian tradition as well. But more importantly to me is that it's hard to put Venus in Libra, one-on-one love, or economic commerce, balance in the scales of economic commerce. But it's hard to put her here in a love house, in her joy house. Like she's in Hellenistic astrology, she's in the house of her joy. It's hard to put her in a joy house and see her struggling with it, boulders and melting wings. And so where you're supposed to be joyful and you're supposed to be inspired and the muse is all over you and you're creative and you're entrepreneurially thriving and it's been a struggle, we see a turnaround story. We just do. But if you were looking for love and romantic love, guess what? Jupiter is going to find you a partner that you're going to marry. He rules your house of weddings. He rules your house of long-term committed love. And it means that if you've been struggling to find a person, your person, a long-term partner, that story is no longer going to be true for a lot of you. By the time you get to next August of 27, you will likely be not just in a romantic life story, but in a story that is committed already, that could lead to marriage. So that's the story for you. Pivot points are December 4th. Did I say this already? January 29th and May 3rd of next year, closing out around August 19th. So that's your window of this story, this good thing that is trying to happen. celebrity and a bit of fame sometimes comes off of this fifth house, which is like one of the stage houses. And so you could like be elevating in the world, like your position of being well known in some way. That's another narrative I can see coming off of here. More likely you could be well known in your neighborhood or in the online world as this whole year progresses. All right. Oh, not days. So that was a sigh from a girl who's realizing she's hungry, but I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep on with this really amazing story. I hope you're enjoying this story. Please hit the like button and subscribe. I forgot to even call that out in the beginning of my video. So it is your Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising folk. Yes, I know you've got Mars here for 6 weeks. Hang in there. You're going to be very pushy around people in your life, very shovey and pushy, emotionally turbulent maybe. But that aside, on August the 14th, 15th, right? Mercury and Jupiter co-join. Let's move us to the 15th where it's exact. In your money house. So the money you earn, the money you save, the resources you have, the pocketbook, wallet, savings, all of that. Jupiter wants to expand and grow it. Mercury says, yes, please. And that's a story that you're going to experience over the next 12 months. Yet at the same time, Venus's wings are melting and she's pushing a boulder up a hill in the house of the home. Love in the home is hard. Pleasure in the home is hard. Enjoyment in the home is hard. The beauty of your home feels like a futile struggle as you keep pushing a boulder up a hill for some reason. Now, with Jupiter ruling your house of rentals, there's an opportunity to possess a new home, a rental home, or to rent out a property in the next year. Mercury rules the house of the neighborhood. You might move your neighborhood. You might purchase a property in your neighborhood. There's things to do with changes of neighborhood that are possible, as well as property, land, and real estate changes in the next 12 months. But Venus is not having a good time before this conjunction. She's been struggling, and the struggle is about the actual enjoyment of your private time and your downtime. You're working hard up here, trying to work less hard in your career, if you have a career. And so there's a lot to be said about the desire of this Saturn to exalt your home life. And some of you could definitely find a new home through rental agreements, rental properties, that kind of thing. Buying a home or selling a home could happen as well. But more importantly, everything about this is Mercury and Jupiter will move into Varuna, leave a legacy, and then Aphrodite, feel the love about the way you make money, the way you earn money, the way you resource yourself financially. With Jupiter coming into Varuna, which is legacy, the word legacy, to leave a legacy, but it also represents legacy wealth. There is a possibility that some of you could come into some money from an inheritance. This is not the most obvious one of all of them. I will give you that, but I'm not going to rule it out at all. You could also come into money connected to a sibling, one older than you, one younger than you, or just sibling and money in general, benefiting you greatly in the next 12 months. So because the story takes place in four-act structure, kind of three-act structure, let's go through that just briefly. It is in the intro. Don't forget, you haven't seen this kind of sky since 1896. It looks like you're gonna work less hard to save money or make money, and maybe rely on other kinds of money that you can rest easy on. Okay, more chunks of money, and then hustle and earnings for money. In fact, some of you may be changing your strategy in the next 12 months to make money, but you're blessed by having enough and more than enough anyway. A sale of a property could also do that, or buying a property and renting it out and becoming a landlord in the sky could do that. So we're going to talk about the December 4th of 2026, and then January 2027, January 29th, and then May 3rd of 2027. These are the three pivot points of Mercury moving through the signs of Scorpio, Aquarius, and Sag. For you, that's quite important, if you ask me, because, of course, when we get all the way through here, we're going to relieve ourselves of debts, and we may be quitting some jobs. That's you in December. Maybe you're going to give it up, right? cut out. Oh, sorry, that's you in the fifth house. Sorry, not here. Fifth house stories. Um, I'm wondering if you're going to do something here coming up, some of you, not every one of you, in December, where there's going to be a shift in your money connected to good fortune or entrepreneurial stories, right? And then you're going to move into, shifting here to your chunky money story in January of next year. And then you're going to pivot all the way around the chart and end up here in May. So there's a lot of shift going on here for you. I'm wondering also, do you have any possibility in this sky, which you may or may not have, but I'm just going to bring it up for you. Is there any possibility that you might also be making some kind of entrepreneurial business happen? And a lot of you may think, oh, I'm not an entrepreneurial type. That's not me. But I disagree. I think that you could start your own business on this. So if you're a Cancer listening and you've always been employed or whatever, there's a strong possibility of becoming an entrepreneur. And if you've never thought about becoming an entrepreneur before, although maybe you've entertained it lightly, but then you're like, I don't know if I can do that. Am I the entrepreneurial type? The answer would be yes, you are the entrepreneurial type. If you want to entrepreneur out, okay, that's a thought you had before but never actualized it, then I'm telling you it is time to do that. So I'm giving a go-ahead green thumb for you because it will make you much more wealthy. And the kind of entrepreneurship you do can be where you're sleeping at night and products are selling, off the shelf of the online world or something. But there's almost like a desire to create something brand new, like a birth a baby money-making endeavor for a lot of you guys. So don't get stuck in a feeling that is a dead end. It looks like it could be extremely positive for you. Jupiter rules your house of work, changing your work. Jupiter rules your house of health. Dietary changes will happen too. In the next, year, by the next August, you've changed your food style pretty significantly, actually. And you've moved towards a food style that is extremely good for you, that extremely nourishes you. And it's really good for your health, both your hip health, of all things, your hips, and also maybe your cardiovascular health as well. Let's go on and do the last couple of signs. All right. Leo, I could have started with you, but I started with Libra. You're both in the thick of it here. So for Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign people, you guys have the reset of the best transit of the year, the asking you shall receive transit, and it's happening in your first house which is your sun here, Leo sun career, Leo moon, your home life and emotions, and Leo rising, your character identity in the simulation. So it's very significant. It's extremely powerful for you. There's no way about it. You guys are really benefiting from this transit. Yes, yes, yes. Go back to watch the video. 2014, 15 into 16, you experienced this energy. 2003, 4, 1991, 92 kind of vibe. 1979, 1980. Of course, yes. Go watch the intro. But this is different because this is the first time since 1896 that Jupiter was at the south node of fate and destiny, where we're having eclipses while Jupiter and Mercury cohort together here. Now, there's something about this that tells me that Mercury was dealing up some challenges of he had a talk with Venus. The mailman had a visit to the door of Venus and he had a conversation August the 12th, 13th. Okay. August the 12th to 13th, there was Mercury-Venus sextile, which is positive. It is its own kind of good news vibe, but Venus has been belabored. She's been pushing a boulder up a hill and it rolls back over her and her wings have been melting, and it's in the area of the chart that is connected very specifically to your siblings, to your neighbors and neighborhood situations, to your social media online landscape, to things you're trying to skills-based learn or teach, and sometimes to marketing, selling, communicating, and writing. All of those things have been a challenge. This is your local area in which you live. It's the places you drive to or walk to on the daily, and there's a boulder you're pushing up that hill, and it doesn't feel easy. That's the best I can say. It does not feel like a breeze. And it's shorter distance travel, pushing a boulder up the hill to travel. Now, siblings belong here as a general principle. So struggles with a sibling one younger than you, or a struggle with siblings in general, or struggling with a sibling story. All siblings, in fact, with Mercury being the ruler of the sibling one older than birth order, like born one above you, and Venus and the sibling one younger. So sibling stories are very active here for you. Pushing a boulder up a hill to get a sibling trip off the ground would be a simple interpretation of that. So what Jupiter wants to do is turn with Mercury's help, any of these difficult circumstances around. The good news transit, the good guy transit, the good transit is making a difference. So it's happening in your sign. You're almost like being blessed by the ability to turn hardship around. And if you have any hardship with travel, with your social media life, with your learning and teaching landscape, you're going to shift and you're going to fix it. Friendships you make in your childhood here, I mean, kindergarten, high school, elementary school, struggles and hardships with those friendships. Those stories can also turn around. There's a feeling that this conjunction could also indicate pregnancy, if you are of an age in which pregnancy could happen. So Jupiter rules your house of children. So if it's not you getting pregnant, your children can get pregnant in the next year, one of your children. And if that happens, the neighborhood or short distance travel can happen. Like if you're single, for example, as a Leo, could you get a new love story out of this? Absolutely, you could. But it's going to be somebody you meet because you're traveling, or somebody you meet because they're in the local environment where you live. Okay, I'll give you online dating. It's a third house. So single Leos could find a new love in the next year, and it's going to be fated and destined love stories, right? That's for sure. I see a lot of foreign or long distance travel connected to potential love stories for single Leos looking for love. Already in a love story, well, that's a whole different ball of wax, and we're going to get to that. I think that also, if you're looking for love, siblings can introduce you to a love story, or friends from childhood could introduce you to a new love story. All right, those are all very possible for you single Leos in the next year. Libra's in the sign of books. She's in the house of writing, pushing to finish a writing project, a book you wanted to get published, something you wanted to put into the world, and it's just a lot of work. And Jupiter wants to make that was easy, but that was lucky, that was blessed. So you're finally finishing a book, and it's been a struggle, and all of a sudden you get the best possible lucky break for an agent, for example. That can happen for you. Some of you might want to be educating yourself, and you have an educational opportunity or a lucky break in the next year to even go back to school. If you have finished studies and want to return to learning. Now, one thing I want to tell you, everything about this chart has pivot points, right? It's going to be pivoting in December 4th when there's a Scorpio Mercury square to Jupiter. Well, that could be a change of home, right? Because this is angular. Home, career, and significant relationship changes are here. So you may move out of a home or change your home or have a lucky opportunity to move to a new home in a blessed area of town, in a beautiful neighborhood where you feel really at home. There's that possibility. Then we have the pivot of January, late January of next year, and the pivot is happening in your long-term committed love house. Now, there's another story to consider. Are you changing your home because you're marrying somebody? Or are you having a new relationship show up? And that's very nice for you. If you're looking for your relationship, then look no further. Single Leos to January of 2027 for new love blossoming. And then we move to May of 2027. And yeah, then we have the Mercury Taurus story squaring, and that can be a change in job, career, and work. And all of it can still overlap home and relationship. So it's very angular. You're having massive fixed sign changes in your life. For the most part, it's very positive. And it'll end in August 19th of 27. So you only get this kind of thing once every 12 years. You only get this like last time 100 odd years ago, 1800s, more than 100 years ago. So there's something very special happening here. Now, some of you, lastly, I know you don't want to hear this, okay? Some of you are letting go of a relationship. Jupiter gives you what you need, not what you want. It's that Rolling Stones song. You don't always get what you need, you get what you want. Self-notice to release and surrender and let go. And because Jupiter rules the romantic sexual love, and you have this happening opposite your Pluto-fueled Aquarius marriage house, both committed marital relationships and or romantic love stories are maybe going to be released for your highest good and highest benefit in the next 12 months. All right? That's what I'm saying. Even Mercury up here in May of next year could be the announcement of separation or divorce. Jupiter rules your house of shared spousal resources, but also this could indicate that there's a divorce and a settlement coming, and the settlement should favor you in this regard. All right, that's what I've got. Your children could get pregnant and you could be a grandparent in the next 12 months as well. One of your children. All right, finally, last but not least, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. So, Virgo, the energy is extremely subtle. I mean, you're going to feel it like you're doing inner soul work, karmic clearing. Jupiter, Mercury, good news transit, seen this way in 1896, is the ultimate transit for spiritual liberation. Complete release and surrender and letting go in a most magical, beautiful, and joyous way of an addictive habit or pattern. A substance misuse disorder. All of a sudden, you don't crave nicotine anymore. All of a sudden, alcohol feels boring to you. You're going to clear through baggage from your childhood. You're going to clear through ancestral wounds around alcohol or drugs or escapism or self-undoing. You are literally burning through the heart of that stuff with this Leo fire and having the courage to do the work. Now, because there is the energy of an ocean god, Varuna, who is cosmic justice, but also legacy energy. And because you want to leave in your downline a clear slate, Virgos, you do not want your children and children's children to carry the burdens of the karmic ancestral patterns that have held you back. And you're going to purge it out in the year that follows this conjunction. If you thought you'd never let that addiction go or that struggle go or that pattern go, don't worry about it. The universe is doing the heavy lifting for you. And we're going to talk about heavy lifting because in the house of what you put in your nose and your mouth, your food style, your sipping of the bourbons or the whatever you're doing here, the house of your mouth, the house of your nose, what you inhale, your cigarette smoke, I don't know. This is Venus, and she's been pushing the goddess of pleasure up a damn hill, a rock that keeps rolling back on top of her. And her wings are melting under the exertion of it all. This is where you fall from the sky of your power. And this is where your healing is in the next year. You know, that expression, it doesn't matter how many times you fall off a horse, it's how many times you get back up on the damn thing. That's you now. But getting back up on the horse of quitting something that is not for you, I don't care if it's Haagen-Dazs, vape, cigarettes, or even a hard drug. I don't care what you're doing. This is your turnaround story. And it's not up to you. It is literally the surrender through the power of the divine. This is literally what they say in AA about, you got to give it up to a higher power. And you don't have to try. It's being done. It's just happening. So this is your celebratory year of dietary change and turning a turnaround story around self-undoing. And for a lot of you, it will be things you put in your nose and mouth. If you've been struggling with your facial appearance in any way, you don't like the way your face looks, your nose, your teeth, your hair, your face, it fixes the problem for you. So you struggle and struggle to clear up the acne, or struggle and struggle to feel good about how you're looking in the facial appearance, then something is turning that around for you. Don't go get turkey teeth, whatever you do. A very story here. Don't travel to another country for some cosmetic procedure. I would not advise it, but facial appearance and better facial appearance is a story for you in the next year. Because in the sky, Mercury and Jupiter both bump into Aphrodite in the 12th house. This is the house of falling into a love story with your solitude, falling in love with your alone time, falling in love with your bed pleasures again. You're going to come into more ease and harmony here. However, this is another story as well, because Venus down here can bring you more money in the next year. Here comes some more money. Why not? Mercury suggests it could come from career activity. There's that as well. But Jupiter also rules the house of legacy wealth. And he's with the asteroid Varuna, for which the word legacy applies. This could indicate legacy wealth coming from the following stories: a spouse, a father figure, and an inheritance. Okay. Now, when I say spouse, it could come from a spouse because of separation, divorce agreements. Yes. But when I'm talking about money coming from a legacy wealth family member, the sun tells us father figure. So grandpa, great uncle, anyone in your line who could to bequeath money can bequeath it in the year that follows this conjunction. Or it could be a living trust, just pass money on while you're alive. Transfer of wealth from the family line is in your chart this year. for some of you, or from your spouse, right? So that would be more like, are we separating our assets out? We'll see. And well, this story has occurred before here in the past, like 2014, 15, 2003, 4 kind of thing, 14, 15, 16, you had a double hit there. It's not entirely the same because of the South Node, but you might go back to 2014, 15, 16, or 2003, 4, and ask yourself if similar themes were trying to play out in the sky, although again, nothing is the same twice over. Mercury rules your career house. You may get a career opportunity coming in the next year. If that's the case, it'll increase your earnings and success and your financial uptick in the job or career you're doing. But there is an activation of a greater allowance for solitude and time alone and creative time alone even, and finding your soulful heart in that alone time. So you may all of a sudden decide to change your job or quit your job in the next year. You know, the pivot that matters around the job story the most for you guys will be in January when we have Mercury in your 6th house, and that could look like a significant change of job and career direction. You might retire as well. You get some retirement signatures here in the chart as well, or you may really dramatically change your direction in your career. All right, so don't forget, this video was done with all of my heart and soul, so don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to join me in my Sky Reader class. And here, if you want to keep listening, is more about Sky Reader as I walk you through the back end of the website, and you get to take a gander of what some of the stuff is that we'll be doing. We have lots of guest teachers this year, 6 of them. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you guys on the next video, and I appreciate all of you. Every year I teach Sky Reader in the fall. It's always in September. It's usually 6 weeks long, and this time we're going for 7. We're taking it a little slower, giving you a very kind of leg up first week, which we take the pieces of the sky and teach you to read them in a very constructive and well-paced manner. This is my favorite class to teach. When I teach Sky Reader, I always feel so excited because you have learned to read your own sky. You now know what your chart is all about, and you know how to read the basic language of astrology for your friends, family, and your children, whoever you want to share it with. No, we're not professionally certifying you. At Lunatic Astrology, I'm your teacher, Lori Lothian. We're teaching you to fish so that when you listen to me on YouTube and you're getting all of that guidance, maybe you can also get your own. You know, we don't want to move against the sky. We want to move with the sky. We want to move in the area of our lives that brings us flow and ease, because the sky supports that. And by having a knowledge of what the sky is saying and relative to our own natal sky, we are able to operate at a new level. That level is about flow. It is about not arguing with what is happening and moving in the direction of what wants to happen. It is so darn simple. Life is full of ups and downs, but if you know that there's a swamp, 2 doors away, and if you walk that way, you're going to get stuck in quicksand, you can avoid that. If you go to the left instead of the right, there's a beautiful meadow with a lake. Why not take that path? The sky is always grabbing us. It's called the grahas, or the grabbers. The planetary planets, like where they're going in the sky, the transits, that moving heavens, the moving stars, the map of time is a map of where we should avoid getting stuck and where we may move forward with freedom. And the grabber part of planets is that they're almost like celestial teasers, right? They want to grab us and make us move in a direction. Sometimes it's not in our highest and best good. And I don't mean in a conscious, malefic way. I just mean you can take something like Neptune and make it all about transcendence and spiritual union and high creativity and imagination. And you can take it all the way down to drug addiction, and destitution maybe, and even things to do with mental challenges, health challenges. So you can operate at all levels of every planet. In Sky Reader, we show you your highest potential. Now, this is an introductory class. If you want to come to Sky Reader to be your own astrologer and time your best life, then you're coming because you are curious astrologically. You're not coming because you've already taken some heavyweight courses under your belt. You're coming because you've been listening to my channel or other astrologers, and you've always had a curiosity about learning, and you've always wanted to learn to read the sky, which is the map of time. So I'm hoping some of you will come join me there, because I've graduated hundreds of students so far, and the feedback is wonderful. And I invite all of my students, former, to come back every year and play around in redoing the course for 75% off, because I think the more you do it, the more you deepen it. We have guest teachers every year. When you join Sky Reader, you get the archived vault. In other words, you can go back and watch other guest classes in astrocartography, the astrology of relocation, and things to do with zodiacal releasing and more. We have these guest teachers coming in this year, are so much fun. We have a guest teacher about the love codes, Donnie Lim of astrology, learning to read your Venus story. We have a guest teacher coming in about medical or wellness astrology. We have another one showing us about how to choose the perfect day to do something, day and time to like launch your website, get married. That's called electional astrology. We have what's your purpose, dharma kind of thing with another teacher. So what we're doing is we're giving you a lot of content. What you're doing is you're taking time to learn, but also to hold on to that content forever. It is evergreen. Once you have it, you never don't have it. If it's over your head at first, you won't be over your head when you take a second stab at it. Weekly Q&As, different time zones, so we can get people around the world in those Q&As. We alternate between evening and night every second week on Wednesday nights, and usually they're at 5:30 or 6 p.m. Pacific time. We also have the idea that the class itself is now happening at 9:30 a.m. in Pacific time on Saturday, starting on the 19th of September. So that's wonderful. We have a Facebook group and a Discord group that we have moderators running, where you can meet other people who are learning astrology, share your notes, and get to meet some new astrologically curious friends. Who knows, you might meet your soulmate there. And we're also taking you through a journey that is sequential, from learning to read the sky to being able to use two very profound timing tools to help you understand your reality and begin to move forward with ease and grace. The feedback from Sky Reader year after year has been phenomenal, and every time I teach it, I learn to make it more simple, more well-paced, and more easy for you to grasp. So I'm in 7 years of doing this. I think I'm getting it down finally to a fine art, thanks to you guys. I'm going to show you the website just so you see what it looks like. I'm now moving most of my content to laurilothian.com. It used to be somewhere else at Padaya. If you're there already, nothing is taken away from you. At this point, though, I'll show you the new website so you can take a gander at what the sky looks like over there, what my site looks like. And I hope to see some of you in class. I always say this, and I'm not making this up. You might probably think, oh, that's a sales pitch. Oh, I might not teach this next year. That's not true. I always wonder if I'm just going to retire and start to write books. And my agent wants me to write a book. And so I have a lot on my plate to get done in this life. Legacy is to leave a book behind. So for me, when I say I may not teach this next year, Lori may not teach this next year. Okay. All right. So this is the website, laurilothian.com. If you go /sky-reader, you'll be at the introduction to the course and the enrollment page. We're on a discount code right now until the end of July. Well, it's not a code, it's just a discount. There's 40% off the full price. And then in August, depending on when you hear this, there'll be another lower price, not as discounted as July's early enrollment price, but by September, it will go to full price. So make sure that you get in this class with a discount if that's something you're looking for. So you can see this beautiful website was created by my team. I think it's gorgeous. Learn to read your sky. And then there's a preview of what we have going on. So when you get into the course backdrop and you're there, you're going to have like stuff already waiting for you, a little tutorial on how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, free minis of the 12 houses PDF. And I have what I call your Astro Toolkit. I'm always adding more stuff to that toolkit. You don't need a professional software. You can use Astrocom, astro-seek.com, time passages. These are free softwares. This is not requiring you to purchase professional software in order to learn in my course. And you'll see that we have the toolkit here. These are elements that go in, how to cast your chart in whole sign houses. These are already in the back end of the program. Your cheat sheet pack, 12 signs, 12 houses guide. This is just learning tools. This is all going to help you learn. For most classes, I'll be putting together a handbook to help guide you through each class, which is new this year, kind of a prompts, a questions, things to fill out so that you can use it as a kind of self-study tool. Just print it out on a PDF on a computer. I'll aim to keep it black and white, of course, so you don't have to worry about color. And then we see that the Astrology 101 is we set you up really slowly. I call it the slow start, where we're really going to build the basic building blocks together so that when you come off of week one, you are like someone who went to kindergarten to learn the alphabet. You're going to have the basics in your toolkit, in your understanding already. And then we talk about the various parts of the sky, the big four, the 12 houses, dignity matters. Planets have dignity. You want to understand that. Otherwise, there's nothing you're going to understand without that. Dignity matters. We're also using whole sign houses, and this is ancient Hellenistic astrology. The focus will not be on the outer planets because we can't use them as time lords. And so it's not that there's anything wrong with the outer planets, but they're not good for timing your best life. Unless you want to live 248 years, says Pluto, 164 years, says Neptune, or 84 years, says Uranus. They're not the most timely tools, right? Solar returns is one of the things we do, and we learn about the perfection ages. Now, you may think I know all about my solar return and my perfection age. I don't think you do. I embed in some advanced tools there for you that you won't probably find anywhere else after like 8 years and thousands of clients, nonstop teaching and seeing real clients in the trenches. I have figured a few things out, and I always like to share what I figured out with you guys so that you can also use those tools the way I do. There's always bonus content here. And so you get from me, not to use until you've taken Sky Reader, the birthday chart advanced course as your solar return, the annual perfections advanced course, and how to find people in your chart. Where's my mom? Where's my kids? Where's my husband? Where's my siblings? How to find the planets that represent those people in your chart. That is also a part of a course that I've taught that I give you as a part of your bonus toolkit. Okay, so I hope you guys will go over. I hope you'll have fun if you come to study with me. I would love to see you there. When I talk about teaching, without a doubt, it is my favorite thing to do. It gives me a joy, actually. I remember years ago, I went to see a psychic reader in Coquitlam, Canada. That's outside of Vancouver. She looked at me as I walked in the room. This is like 15 years ago. And she said, "Teacher, teacher, teacher, you are a teacher." At the time, I was a magazine editor and a writer, and I had no idea what she was talking about. And look at her today. She was right 15 years later. That is my passion. That is what I do. Hope you'll join me. I'll see you guys in Sky Reader, and let's have some fun learning together. Everyone have a very good, wherever you are, day, month, or year.
Lunatic astrology.